No more Excel. No more pen and paper. No complicated apps. Okay? No more. You do not have time for that. You can barely keep a budget as it is. And today I want to show you how I keep a budget as a financial coach, a wannabe financial planner, and a person who loves to optimize money. Seriously, it should not be that hard. Every single month, my husband and I, we go through our budget and our cash flows in this app, and I'm going to show you exactly how I do it, what my exact numbers are, and hopefully it will inspire you to change and finally get it together when it comes to your budget, okay? Let us start. I'm gonna screen share. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. You can see that I'm in this app called Empower. I love this app because it allows me to see three things right away all the time, which is my net worth, my budgeting, and my cash flow. I'm actually going to try to zoom you in really quick so you don't have to be squinting at your cell phone as you look at this on YouTube. This is too much. So I use an app called Empower, and I love it because it shows me three things. This net worth situation over here, the budgeting and the cash flow. Okay. The net worth we're not talking about today. Okay. If you want to know what the breakdown of my net worth is, I do have another video. And one day I will make a video about how I accumulated all my massive material wealth. But until then, I want to show you the budgeting and the cash flow because I actually use the cash flow more than I use the budgeting, but it's okay. Okay. So we're going to press into here budgeting. Let us take a look. I absolutely love this. Okay. First of all, it's automatically taking everything that I spend on any single credit card or debit card and putting it in October. It's very important that you have all your cards linked up appropriately so that it is the most accurate it could be. Okay. Now you can do this without your spouse or with your spouse or your partner or whatever. I recommend doing it with a partner so both my husband and mine stuff is in there. It also keeps us very accountable. Maybe it's too much accountability for somebody, but for us, it works good because we can be like, oh, how many times were you at the Fort Hood shop at today? If you know, you know. But anyway, let's look at this. So at the top, you can see my mortgage was 1428. My groceries so far, there's 637. General merchandise, that's like Walmart, Target, all the yada yada, Amazon, whatever's. And then you can just see everything else. Now, sometimes I go in here and it's stuff that I don't really know. So it's like, okay, let me check. What is insurance? Okay, that's actually just our insurance for our car. That looks good. And then I just go back out to all spending. And then I might go into what is other expenses? I don't even know. Let's see. Okay, this is a restaurant. This is an exchange purpose. Okay, so I'm just gonna redo these really quickly. I'm gonna say this is general merchandise, question mark. These were some shoes that my husband bought. And this was shop at stuff. If you know, you know. Military life. Everybody be at the shop at buying their tornadoes and Red Bull. And then Arapitas, this is actually a restaurant. Cool. Okay, so you can just go into Empower and change them. You do have to like look over them once a month to make sure they're accurate. And I do this for last month at the beginning of the month. Okay. And then you can kind of see where your spending categories are. If you have a problem overspending in one category, it's very important. Like today is October 19th. I've spent $637 for groceries. Well, maybe I'm like, I can only spend 900, so I know I have about 250 left in order to like keep under my budget. So when I'm going to the store and I see my groceries hit 200 next week, but I still have like another week to buy, I might try to reel it back a bit. It's there to inform us. It's very, very cool. Let's see what I actually spent last month on groceries. Last month was 901 on groceries, 982 on general merchandise. I think we had some Lowe's purchases, which I should definitely move out. And then I can see the trend of what I have been spending. See what I mean by like CEO? Like you're not sitting here inputting every single grocery bill. You're not pulling out this big paper receipt. You're literally letting technology sync this data for you so you can just do it. Okay. Now you can see I spent 6,700 over my 5,300. My 5,300 is exactly what we take home every single month after taxes. And so we spent 6,724. But you'll see my cash flow in a second, it's not so bad. Let me explain. So I'm going to go to banking and now I'm going to go to my cash flow for last month because we actually had some income come in that let us spend some more. And the income is actually from a sinking fund. So that's kind of complicated, but basically, a sinking fund is savings you set aside. And when I finally put that money in, I count it as income. So you can see this chart of what I spent. September is the dark line, August is the dotted line. And you can see they're about the same, but in September, we have a little bit more. So cash flow for September was actually negative $159. And so we spent a little bit more than we made. Now you can also see like any sort of timeline you want. So if I wanted to look at this month, let's see if we do this month, what our cash flow is, we're negative 3,000 because, oh wow, I wonder why it's negative 3,000. I guess it's because we haven't gotten our like second paychecks yet, you know? And so that should go back up as we, transition into doing more, although that seems pretty low. It's almost like they didn't capture a um it's almost like they didn't capture a paycheck or something here. And this is really cool to see too, because you can sort of realize, like, well, it was supposed to go up when I got paid. I got paid on the 15th, and I wonder why that hasn't gone through yet. And I can see on the left here on my cash side that maybe my body is blocking it, but I can see on my cash side that I haven't updated this. And that's one thing about Empower. It will show you the last date that it was updated. So I just need to update this, and I'm sure that this cash flow will look more even. Let's look at a more like normal month, I guess. We could go back to August 08 to 08 31 question mark. Oh gosh, I don't know. That's sad. You can kind of see for August, the cash flow was negative 168. Yikes. We have been overspending. And that is the most brutal part about having the data in front of you. You can actually see how bad things really are. And maybe you don't like that because it's uncomfortable, but for me, it's motivating. It's like, okay, in August, we had a negative 1,688 cash flow. And then in September, you saw that we had a like $159 cash flow. That's a big difference. So clearly, we have changed our behavior in some sort of way that is reducing our overspending. Just to give you another example, for last year, our cash flow for the entire year was up $7,000. And this year is pretty bad because we bought a house. And so it has just messed up the whole situation. And you can see we have a negative 1,500 cash flow. I think that's because of the house buying. Let me just leave out January. I think it's like pretty inaccurate, but let's see if we just leave out January and what the negative cash flow is. Okay, we've overspent by $7,000. And this is extremely accurate. We have just been going over a little bit of our budget every single month and basically pulling from savings. And although this is absolutely brutal to look at, it just, not to get too philosophical on it, but there's something really meaningful and pleasant about the truth once you face it. You know, it's unpleasant in the moment when you realize you're failing, but then to be like, I know where we are now and I know where I want to go. There's something very freeing about that. That's why using data is the best way, I believe, to budget. I can't really look forward into November, but I can see that I've spent $3,525 this month and I don't want to go over anymore. Then I can just look and say, okay, where do I need to stop spending? So we don't actually plan the next month, which I think is the only thing that sucks about Empower. And that's pretty good about other apps like Rocket Money or Every Dollar that are like basically centrally budgeting apps as opposed to Empower, which is sort of a dashboard. But this budget helps me see where my pitfalls have been. I've been consistently only making 5,300 and consistently spending 6,000. I also so maybe you can use both because this doesn't actually let you plan out the categories. It's really kind of a budget where you look back in the past and you keep track of what you're doing. So I can see that everything that I know that is good is doing really well. We're doing really well in entertainment. We're doing really well on restaurants. Everything is looking good because I already know my numbers. And I think that if you set little targets for your main categories, that this could be extremely helpful to you. I already know my numbers for like gasoline and stuff like that. Man, Empower really should add something, but I'm not going to write them a letter. Maybe I should. And then you can kind of look like for our 1 year totals, it's kind of fun to look, but in 1 year we've spent $100,000. This is because we bought a house, okay? But you can also do just this year. You can look at everything that has been purchased and you can kind of look like, oh wow, I spent $1,300 on personal care. I spent $1,300 on insurance. I spent $600 on gifts. And just sort of seeing like where your numbers are and if those are matching the life you want to live. I think that this is really powerful. Let me know in the comments below if you think this would be helpful for you instead of just going through and constantly tracking budgets. I know some people really like that style, but for me, I like to look retroactively back at the month and say, okay, what went well? What did we do poorly? And how can we improve next time? Because maybe I'm like a seasoned budgeter or like I know what my numbers are. And as long as you're reviewing this data regularly, you don't have to be inputting data every week or looking at it every single day. It's just there to give us the knowledge of what we should be doing. And there you have it. You really don't need to nitpick yourself into budgeting. You can look back in your past data to see what makes sense for you and your family and how to change moving forward and looking at your cash flows to be completely honest about whether you're overspending or not. The only downfall to this method is that you truly do not track or categorize for the future. And other than that, it's an amazing tool that I really love. And you can always, I guess, use paper and pen or an Excel sheet or an app for that. Anyway, I hope you start budgeting like a CEO. And if you like content about how to optimize your money, personal finance, philosophical musings about money and economy, check me out. Leave a like, subscribe, and I would love to see you back. Bye.